What would you do if your dog refused to leave your side, even when doctors said it was impossible? This is the story of a golden retriever named Max, who defied all odds to stay with his owner, Emily, in her darkest hour. What happened next left everyone in the hospital stunned. Emily Carter, a 28-year-old graphic designer, and her golden retriever, Max, were inseparable. They shared a bond that went beyond words. But one fateful day, Emily was rushed to the hospital after a sudden collapse. Doctors discovered a rare heart condition that left her fighting for her life. Max, who had never been apart from Emily, was left at home, confused and heartbroken. But Max wasn't about to let distance keep him away. What he did next would change everything. Welcome to our channel. Before moving on to the story, first tell me, where are you watching from? Let's begin. Max sat by the door, his golden fur illuminated by the dim glow of the hallway light. His ears twitched at the faintest sound, his tail unmoving. It had been hours since Emily left, and the house felt unbearably empty without her. The scent of her perfume still lingered in the air, but she was nowhere to be found. Sarah, Emily's sister, knelt beside him, running a comforting hand through his soft fur. "Max, she'll be back soon," she murmured, her voice gentle yet uncertain. Max didn't react. He simply stared at the door, waiting. The night stretched on, and Max refused to budge. He ignored his dinner, untouched in the bowl beside him. Even when Sarah tried to coax him with his favorite treat, he barely spared it a glance. The only thing that mattered to him was Emily. Days passed, and Max's behavior grew more alarming. He whined constantly, his once bright, playful eyes clouded with worry. He paced through the house, sniffing every corner, searching for a scent trail that led to Emily. Every night, he curled up by the door, whimpering in his sleep, as if dreaming of her return. Sarah did her best to care for him, but nothing seemed to ease his distress. "Max, she needs you to be strong," she whispered one evening, crouching beside him. "She wouldn't want you to stop eating." But Max didn't understand. All he knew was that Emily was gone, and something was terribly wrong. Then came the night that changed everything. A storm raged outside, rain lashing against the windows. The wind howled through the trees, and thunder rumbled in the distance. Sarah, exhausted from trying to comfort Max, finally drifted off on the couch, the television playing softly in the background. Max, however, remained restless. His ears perked up as a faint scent drifted in from under the door. It was weak, almost indistinguishable beneath the storm's intensity, but it was there. Emily. Something in him snapped into action. Without hesitation, he rushed toward the door, scratching at it desperately. He barked, loud and urgent, but Sarah remained asleep. His heart pounded. He needed to get out. He needed to find her. With a force he had never used before, Max pushed against the door. Again and again. The latch rattled, and finally, with one last determined push, it swung open. The cold night air rushed in, but Max didn't hesitate. He bolted into the storm, paws splashing against the wet pavement. He had no direction, no clear path, only instinct. The scent of Emily, though faint, lingered somewhere ahead, and he would follow it no matter what. Rain soaked his golden coat as he ran, his breath coming in heavy pants. Cars rushed by, their headlights blinding, but Max didn't slow down. His paws burned against the rough ground, but he didn't care. All that mattered was reaching Emily. An hour passed, then another. Max's legs trembled from exhaustion, but he refused to stop. The scent was getting stronger now, guiding him forward like an invisible thread. Then, finally, he saw it, a towering building, bright lights spilling from its windows. The hospital. Max's heart pounded with renewed hope. Emily was inside. He just knew it. With the last of his strength, he sprinted toward the entrance, ignoring the shouts of the security guards as he skidded to a stop in front of the glass doors. He barked, loud and desperate, his paws leaving wet prints on the ground. But they wouldn't let him in. Not yet. The streets were eerily silent as Max stood outside the hospital, his fur damp from the cold night air. His paws ached from the long journey, but he didn't care. His golden eyes locked onto the glass doors, ears perked, and tail stiff with determination. Emily was in there. He could feel it. With a deep, desperate bark, he announced his presence. Then another, and another. Passers-by glanced his way, some pausing momentarily, but no one intervened. Inside the hospital, a security guard, an older man with a thick mustache, turned his head toward the noise. With a sigh, he adjusted his belt and stepped outside. "Hey, you can't be here. Go home," he barked, waving his hands at Max. But Max didn't move. Instead, he stepped forward, his paws pressing against the cold tile just inside the entrance. "I said go home," the guard repeated, his voice firm but puzzled. Max let out a sharp whine, his tail drooping. He wasn't just any stray dog wandering into the wrong place. He had a purpose, a mission. Inside, Nurse Lily had just finished adjusting in 4 in the ICU when the barking reached her ears. She frowned and glanced toward the entrance. Something about the sound struck her. It wasn't just noise. It was desperate, urgent. She walked over to the reception area, peering through the glass doors. And then she gasped. "Max," she whispered. Lily had heard about Max countless times. Emily talked about him with the same warmth one would use for a family member. "He's not just a dog," Emily had said once. "He's my best friend." Lily hesitated. Hospital policy was clear, no pets allowed inside. But something about the way Max stood there, unwavering, made her decision for her. She stepped outside. "Come here, buddy," she called softly. Max's ears perked, and his tail gave a hopeful wag. He trotted toward her without hesitation. "Lily," the security guard warned, "you know the rules." She took a deep breath. "And I know Emily." She glanced at Max and whispered, "Let's go." With careful steps, she led Max through the hospital halls, his nails clicking against the tile. He sniffed the air, his nose twitching, his instincts guiding him. The elevator ride was agonizingly slow, but as soon as the doors opened, Max bolted out, as if he knew exactly where to go. Lily hurried after him. Max skidded to a stop in front of a room. Emily's room. Without hesitation, he pushed through the slightly open door. The room was dim, filled with the rhythmic beeping of a heart monitor. Emily lay still, her face pale, her body unmoving except for the slow rise and fall of her chest. Max hesitated for only a second. Then, with a whimper, he leaped onto the bed, curling up against Emily's side. And then it happened. The heart monitor, which had been erratic all night, let out a steady, rhythmic beep, beep, beep. Lily's breath caught in her throat. She wasn't the only one who noticed. A doctor, who had been reviewing Emily's vitals, turned sharply at the change. His brow furrowed as he stepped closer, watching the numbers on the monitor even out. "I've never seen anything like this," he murmured. Max pressed his head against Emily's chest, closing his eyes. The room fell into a hushed silence, every person present realizing the same incredible truth. Max wasn't just there to comfort her. He was helping her heal. The dim glow of the hospital monitors cast soft shadows across the quiet room. The rhythmic beeping of Emily's heart monitor filled the space, steady and strong. Max lay curled beside her, his head resting gently on her chest, his ears twitching with every breath she took. The doctor stood frozen at the doorway, staring at the screen. He blinked in disbelief, rubbing his temple as if trying to make sense of what he was seeing. "I've never seen anything like this," he murmured, glancing at Nurse Lily. Her vitals are improving. Lily, holding back tears, nodded. It's him, she whispered. It's Mac. For the next few days, Max never left Emily's side. Hospital rules no longer mattered. Everyone, from nurses to senior doctors, was moved by the dog's unwavering devotion. He only ate when food was brought to the room, reluctantly nibbling between glances at Emily. At night, he curled up against her, his presence a constant source of warmth and hope. Patients, visitors, and hospital staff stopped by, peeking through the window or stepping inside to witness the miracle unfolding before their eyes. Some whispered prayers, others simply watched in awe. But no one dared to separate them. Then, one quiet morning, the unthinkable happened. Max's ears perked as he sensed something. He lifted his head, watching Emily's face closely. A slow breath, a twitch of her fingers. Then, her eyelids fluttered. A soft gasp escaped her lips as her eyes, dazed and confused, slowly opened for the first time in weeks. The first thing she saw was Max. His golden eyes widened with joy, and within seconds, his tail thumped wildly against the sheets. He let out an excited whimper before licking her face, his entire body shaking with happiness. Tears welled up in Emily's eyes as she weakly lifted her hand to touch his fur. Her fingers trembled as they ran through his soft coat. "You never left me, did you?" she whispered, her voice fragile but full of emotion. Max licked her hand, pressing himself closer as if to say, "Never." Nurse Lily gasped, covering her mouth as happy tears ran down her cheeks. Doctors rushed in, but none of them could explain the miracle they had just witnessed. Some called it science. Others called it fate. But to Emily, it was something far greater. It was love. Days turned into weeks, and Emily's progress was nothing short of miraculous. Max was with her every step of the way, literally. During physical therapy, he walked beside her, his warm eyes filled with encouragement. When she struggled, he nuzzled her hand as if reminding her she wasn't alone. Every milestone, standing, taking her first steps, smiling again, was celebrated with a wagging tail and a joyful bark. One afternoon, as Emily completed another therapy session, she knelt beside Max, running her fingers through his golden fur. Tears glistened in her eyes as she whispered, "You're my hero, Max. I wouldn't be here without you." Max let out a soft whimper, pressing his forehead against hers, as if he understood every word. Doctors marveled at Emily's progress, but deep down, they all knew the truth. No medicine, no treatment, no technology could explain what had happened. Emily's recovery was nothing short of miraculous. Doctors credited Max's presence as a key factor in her healing. His unwavering love and loyalty had given her the strength to fight. And soon, the day everyone had been waiting for finally arrived. As Emily prepared to leave the hospital, the entire staff gathered in the lobby. Nurses, doctors, patients, everyone who had witnessed this incredible journey stood together. When Emily stepped forward, Max proudly at her side, the room erupted into applause. The once strict security guard wiped a tear from his eye. Nurse Lily beamed with pride. Even the head doctor, usually composed and serious, clapped with a smile. Max, now a local hero, basked in the moment, his tail wagging as people reached out to pet him. He had saved Emily in more ways than anyone could explain. Before stepping through the hospital doors, Emily turned back, taking in the faces of those who had become her second family. With a grateful smile, she whispered a final thank you. Then, with Max trotting happily beside her, she walked into a future filled with hope. Emily took a deep breath as she stepped onto the soft grass of the park, the fresh air filling her lungs in a way it never had before. Max ran ahead, chasing the wind, his joyful barks echoing through the open field. Life had given her a second chance, and she owed it all to him. Later that evening, as they sat on the porch watching the sun dip below the horizon, Emily wrapped her arms around Max, resting her forehead against his. "You saved me, miss." "I'll never forget that." His tail thumped softly against the wooden floor, his eyes filled with the same unwavering devotion that had carried her through her darkest days. Emily and Max's story became an inspiration to millions. Their bond reminded the world of the incredible power of love and loyalty. Emily started a foundation to support patients who benefit from animal therapy, ensuring that others could experience the same miracle she did. News outlets covered their incredible journey, and soon, people from around the world reached out, sharing their own stories of how animals had healed their hearts and souls. Hospitals began welcoming therapy animals with open arms, giving patients the same hope that Max had given Emily. One evening, as the sky burned in shades of orange and gold, Emily sat beside Max in the park, her fingers gently combing through his fur. Life had tested them in ways they never imagined, but they had faced the impossible together. And together, they would keep moving forward, stronger than ever. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and share it with someone who needs a little hope today. Subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories of love, courage, and miracles.